Hello! For part 2 of the most valuable Star Wars CCG cards, I thought I would talk about the alternate images, also known as AIs. So as I mentioned in a previous video, about 1 in every 4 packs in certain sets, I'll get into the nuance later, instead of a regular image had an alternate image. So here's an example for the first card. This set icon for Tatooine, you can tell it kind of has like a gray circle around it. The alternate image had a gold circle around it. So it's the same card, functionally exactly the same text, even, lore text, which is kind of like the flavor text and everything, just the image was different. And so in the Tatooine set, that was the first of the prequel sets, this replaced this card on the rare sheet 1 in every 4 times, so approximately 3 times as rare. All of the alternate image cards were only in the prequel sets, Tatooine, Coruscant, Theed, which were in like the very last 1 to 2 years of Decipher printing this game. So if you don't like Episode 1 cards, you probably won't like this video, but I'd encourage you to rewatch the prequels, actually. I rewatched them recently and really like them. So I can talk a little bit about value as I go through these, and before I do, there's 9 alternate image cards in each of these sets, so 27 total. I'll show you the regular and the alternate for each one. In this case, the alternate image Padme Naberry is worth probably $25 to $30. These are just my best estimates going off of my impression of the market from following eBay, so may not be 100% up to date or accurate, but I'd say 25 to 30 for this one. I'm going to go through the light side characters first. So we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi when he's young, Padawan learner, and then this is the regular version side by side. The AI, alternate image version, probably goes for about 15. Next is Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan's teacher. This is, again, the alternate image version. We saw the foil version of this previously. The foil version of this alternate image in Reflections 3 was an ultra rare. This is a rare that's alternate image. Here's the regular image side by side. So the alternate image of this one probably worth about 25 to 30. Next we have 3PO with his parts showing. So that's C-3PO when Anakin was building him. That's the alternate image. Here's the regular image. And this alternate image probably worth about 15 to 20, maybe I guess closer to 20. Another one, like the Qui-Gon, that the foil version of this was an ultra rare in Reflections 3, which came later. And last, the light side alternate images in Tatooine. We have an alternate image of the weapon, Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber. On the left is the regular version. Here's the AI. And this one is worth somewhere between 15 and 20. Then for dark side cards, they printed kind of a few. I think the idea of the alternate images was to pick sort of main characters, the most interesting or iconic characters. To their credit, the Episode 1 sets had a lot more main characters in them than the older sets. Like there were multiple versions of each throughout the movie, throughout the 3 sets that depicted the movie. So some of these choices not so sure, but anyway, here's Wada. Sorry, this is the regular version. Here's the AI version of Wada, side by side with the regular. And the AI is probably worth about $10 to $15. Same value approximately with Sebulba. Here's the alternate image. And regular, side by side for comparison. And the AI also probably worth about $10 to $15. Next is probably everyone's favorite. We have Darth Maul. That's the alternate image. Regular, side by side. And the AI is worth about $30. And lastly, Singh. This one feels the most random to me because when I rewatched Episode 1, she was in literally one shot of the entire movie. So I personally consider her a main character, but I know there's all kinds of sort of lore and other stories around her. This image, as far as I can tell, wasn't even from the movie, but probably extra footage they had that never made it in. This is the AI, here's the regular side by side. And the alternate image of this one is worth about $20 to $25. And that's it for Tatooine. Next is Coruscant. So in Coruscant, I should note, here's the first one I'll just hold up, alternate image Mace Windu. In Coruscant, the rarity of the alternate images actually increased. And the reason is, in the Tatooine set, it was 1 in every 4 of a rare that was alternate image. Same thing in Coruscant, but Tatooine only had 30 possible rares in the set. It was a very small set. So 9 of those could be AIs, because there were 9 different ones. In Coruscant, there were 60 rares in the set, and only 9 had alternate images. So the chances of getting one was actually twice as hard. 1 in about 27 instead of 1 in about 13 cards in a pack, or packs would contain an alternate image. So this first one, this is Mace Windu. Here's the non-AI version of it, and the AI version is worth about $70 to $80 right now. Next is Qui-Gon, another version of Qui-Gon. In Coruscant, this is the AI version. Here's the non-AI for comparison. And the AI version is worth about $40. Next is Supreme Chancellor Valorum. He's the one who gets ousted by Palpatine. Here's the non-AI version. The AI version, actually, before I talk about price on this one, I should mention, recently there was a price spike in AIs, mostly from Coruscant and from Theed, not as much Tatooine. There were a bunch of auctions that sort of ended much higher than people expected. That set the new price for a while. Then another, much more recently, a few days before recording this video, a big retailer restocked a bunch of these. So now I think you can get this guy for like $40. But before, these auctions were putting him at like $80, even $90. So I don't know what to say sort of the value is. I mean, for now you can buy it for $40, but once that big store sells out, it's Wild Things Games on eBay. Once they sell out of this, who knows if it's going back to $80 for among the sort of resellers and hobbyists. Hobbyist, I include myself in that term affectionately. But anyway, yeah, 40 to 80. I'd put him real value probably around 40 or 50 in my opinion. Next we have said Chancellor Palpatine. So you can tell from here he's a light side character, even though of course he's evil. This is before he sort of reveals that he is Darth Sidious. There's actually a card of Darth Sidious in the next set, Theed, which I'll show soon. But this is when he's still good, and as far as the game rules are concerned, they actually treated Senator Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine, and Darth Sidious as 3 different characters, just to simplify it. Here's the non-AI version. And the AI version, again, same caveat as with the other Coruscant AIs, hard to tell sort of, is the price spike from those auctions real and lasting, or is it not? Is this new, the seller that has restocked, is that stuff going to stay in stock for a while and set the new price or not? But this is probably about $50. Next we have Yoda. I personally really like this card. This is when he's on the Jedi Council. And here's the non-AI version for comparison. And the AI version here, same caveat as with all, but probably around somewhere between $50 and $70 for this. And last, the light side characters, we have my favorite, a different version of Padme. This is her looking like the Queen Amidala, ruler of Naboo. One of my favorite cards, top 10 favorites if you watch the other video. Here is the non-AI version. And here, this one, sort of, the price spiked it from like $200 to $250. Now I think you can still get them for somewhere in that range, $200 to $250. But as far as I know, the most valuable alternate image card in the entire CCG, or at least out of those 27. And as one of my favorite cards, I have this copy is pretty mint to my eyes. I have an even minter one that I sent off for grading, so we'll see when I get that back. And now for the dark side cards. First one, you probably recognize this one too, because the foil version of this was in 2 other videos. The foil version is one of my top 10 favorite cards, and it's an ultra rare foil in Reflections 3. This non-foil version, alternate image from Coruscant, and worth about $150. Here's the non-AI side by side. Even the non-AI of this is a very desirable card. This is probably worth about $35. This is $150. Then we have Maul's Spaceship. So let's focus that. That is the AI. Here's the non-AI for comparison. Now, what I don't like about this is neither of these pictures seem to actually capture the shape of the spaceship. It has those like wings that go like this and then the straight shape. This just makes it look like a straight sort of razor-like ship from the side. This makes it look like the whole thing looks like that shape, kind of like a curved TIE fighter. But that nose in front is actually long, as you can see in this one. So I actually don't like either of these images. If I had to choose, I actually kind of like this one better. One of the few cards where I like the non-AI better than the AI. And this, price spike made this go wild. I think it was selling for $90, even over $100, but now you can get it for $30 to $40, and I think that's what its value was, at least in the past. We'll see what happens. And lastly, we have an AI version of an effect, the Phantom Menace, that sort of plays well with Darth Maul, as far as I can understand. Caveat again, I don't know the game in detail, and I barely understand the rules, and I've only played a couple times. Here's the non-AI version of that. So this picture is confusing to me because, the Phantom Menace, I guess it is supposed to refer to Darth Sidious. He's the Phantom Menace in the background, but a lot of people thought it referred to Darth Maul, and here the card is more about Darth Maul. Anyway, 2 versions side by side, and the AI version worth somewhere in the $30 to $50 range. I'll put it there, call it $40. And that is it for Coruscant. So the last 9 come from the set Theed Palace, which came after Coruscant in 2001. It was the very last set Decipher ever released, even coming after Reflections 3. And so there are 9 more AIs. Start off with Mace Windu again, and I'll say this set, the chances of pulling an AI, an alternate image from pack, was roughly the same as in Tatooine, 1 in, I think, 13. The reason is, again, in Tatooine it was 1 in every 4, in Coruscant it was 1 in 4, but Tatooine had 30 rares, Coruscant had 60 rares. Now, in the Palace it was also a smaller set, not quite as small as Tatooine, there were 40 different rares, 9 of which were AIs, but they increased the frequency of the AIs. So 1 in every 3 cards, here's the regular version of Mace Windu for comparison, 1 in every 3 of these would be replaced by this. So statistically, they're as rare as the AIs in Tatooine, and half as rare as the AIs in Coruscant. As you can tell, we've gone through multiple versions of the same main characters, which in my opinion is a good thing. More main characters in each set is nice. So this is a different version of Mace Windu. I think this is when he's at the funeral for Qui-Gon Jinn. This is afterwards at the celebration at the palace. And so this AI version is worth about 50. But same thing here, the price spikes from those recent auctions might have affected this too, so hard to know the true value right now, but I'd peg it at about 50. Next we have the main character from the original trilogy, R2-D2. Brave little droid. AI, here's the non-AI for comparison, and the AI is worth about 30 to 35. Then we have Panaka, Queen Amidala's guard, and the non-AI version for comparison, and the AI is worth about 40 to 50. Then, everyone's favorite, Jar Jar. There was a version of Jar Jar Binks in Tatooine, but he didn't get an alternate image. Here he does. I really like this one. This one he's a quote-unquote general, fighting with the Gungans, non-AI for comparison. I really like this one. This is probably worth about also 50-ish dollars. And another Gungan, Boss Nass, big boss. This one, up until very recently, was not worth that much. You could probably get this for like $20, but now I'll probably put it in the $30 price range. Non-AI for comparison. Another one where I might like the non-AI better, but he does look fancy there. And last, the light side cards. We will end the light side AIs again with the Queen Amidala, 3rd version. Sorry, that is the non-AI version. Here is the AI version. I love this picture too, almost as much as the Ruler of Naboo version from Coruscant. Non-AI for comparison. I like the non-AI here too a lot. I like both of these probably equally. This is when she's, if I remember the movie correctly from rewatching it last year, she's trying to take back over the palace again. And this card recently spiked in value. It was going for probably 25 to 30, and now it's probably worth 45 to 50. This one worth about 175. So as far as I can tell, again, second most valuable AI of the 27 is also Queen Amidala. Now onto the dark side, I promised Darth Sidious. So here he is. This is worth about 70. What's interesting to me about this one is it never really changed in value. Back when I started collecting a year and a half ago, this was worth 60 to 70. It sells for the same thing today. Might have something to do with the fact that the non-AI, comparing them side by side, is so similar. I guess they had very few shots of the movie to work with to get drastically different angles of him, because you're not supposed to see his face yet and know that he's Palpatine. So this is a non-AI worth about also a lot, kind of 35 to 40-ish, and this is worth about 60 to 70. And then the last two are underwhelming, in my opinion. The Neomoidians. Here's Rune Hako. This is the AI. Here's the non-AI. This is worth about 30. And Newt Gunray. Non-AI version for comparison. And Newt Gunray is worth about 40-ish. So that's it for the alternate image cards. I'll just pull up the feed ones to thumb through again as I talk, but hope you enjoyed this and hope this isn't too intimidating if you're just looking to get back into the game. I'm intentionally highlighting the most valuable cards in the game because in my opinion a lot of those are actually the coolest looking for collectors. Not all, but I think a lot of them are among my favorite cards. And so for a lot of people, I guess they feel ambivalent about Episode 1, you know, not part of the original trilogy, but for me, the fact that the game only covered one episode of the prequel trilogy, Episode 1, makes these cards really interesting. I mean, like to think what could have happened if they continued the game. So many cool options in the other movies as well for new characters or different versions, images of these characters. But this is what we have, and this is what I've collected. And so for a lot of people, you know, all these categories will go through the ultra rare foils, the alternate images, and more coming up next are kind of the grail for collectors.